This video is brought to you by MathGalaxy.com. This is our fractions program which covers these topics, and in this video we're going to be looking at dividing mixed numbers. So first let's have a review. If you've done our review on dividing simple fractions, you can skip the early part of this video and go to the examples. Division and multiplication are inverse operations in the sense that multiplication gives you two multipliers to find the product. For example, it's the number of things times the value for one thing to give you a total. Well, division is the inverse operation where you're looking for one of the multipliers. Here you're given the total and the number of things, and you're looking for the value for one of them. 15 candies, 3 people, how much does each get? So that's one form of division problems. The other form is when you're given the total and the value for one thing, and you're looking for the number of things. How many people times 5 candies each will you be able to share 15 candies? That's 3. Well, the same holds true for fractions. So you have 6 people, each gets 1/8 of a pie. That's 6/8 or 3/4 of a pie total. So here you're given the two multipliers. So what if you're given the total and the value for one thing and trying to find the number of things? So you have 3/4 of a pizza pie. If each gets 1/8 of a pie, how many people can you feed? And you could represent it in this form as with whole numbers. It's total divided by the value for one thing will give you the number of things. And this is a fraction where the numerator and denominator are also fractions. So how do we get our standard division algorithm from this? Well, the key is if you multiply a number by its inverse, you get 1. So we can convert this denominator to 1 by multiplying it by its inverse, which just means the numerator and denominator flipped. But by the rules for fractions, we have to multiply the top number by that also. So we've converted the bottom number to 1, and the numerator becomes multiplication by the divisor inverted. So in a nutshell, that's the rule for dividing fractions. You invert the divisor and multiply. 3/4 times 8 gives you 6. If this complex fraction throws you, don't worry about it. We just wanted to show you how the rules for fractions can be extended, because a lot of the rules for fractions will be applied later in algebra. And we just wanted to give you an idea that these rules aren't arbitrary. There are fundamentals behind them. But the bottom line is what you really need to know, and what you'll end up doing with dividing fractions, is just inverting the divisor, the second number, which we ended up when we did it this way, and then multiplying. So we can cancel. We can do 3 times 8 is 24 divided by 4 or 6, but remember our shortcut for fraction multiplication, dividing top and bottom by 4. And then 3 times 2 is 6 over 1 times 1, or 6. Okay, so now the other form. What if you're given the total, the number of things, and looking for the value for one thing? 3/4 of a pizza pie shared among 6 people, how much does each get? So again, in our sort of complex fraction form, it's a total divided by the number of things will give you the value for 1. So again, the concept behind dividing fractions is you invert the divisor, which makes this 1. This is sort of a mini multiplication problem. The 6's cancel out. And then you have a mini multiplication up top. It's the total times the divisor inverted. So again, don't worry about the complex fraction. What you really need to know is that with division, if you're given a total and one of the multipliers, so for example, you're sharing 3/4 of a pizza pie among 6 people, it's the total is the first number divided by the other number, and so the second number is always the divisor. And you invert the divisor. If it's a whole number, you put it over 1. Invert means flip them. It becomes 1/6, and then it becomes a multiplication problem. So again, we can use our simplification, dividing top and bottom by 3. 3 goes into 3 once, into 6 twice, then multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 2 is 8. And that's where, this process comes from, but this is all you need to know. Dividing mixed numbers is like dividing simple fractions in that you have to invert the divisor and then multiply. But there's one additional step. You have to make all the numbers improper fractions. So here we have a total of 7.5 pounds that we're sharing and giving a half a pound per person and trying to find out how many people we could feed. So to make this improper, it's 2 times 7 is 14 and 1 is 15 halves. So in the complex fraction format, that's the total and that's the divisor, which is similar to the whole number format when you're dividing. Say, for example, you had 20 pounds of food and each person got 2 pounds. You could feed 10 people. So once we've made the total and the divisor into improper fractions, then we can do what we did with simple fractions, because we can still use the rules for fractions, even with complex fractions. i.e. multiplying top and bottom by the same number doesn't change the value. So for example, if you have twice the total and give twice the amount per person, you'll still be able to feed the same number of people. And so the mathematical reason behind why we invert the divisor and multiply is this process, multiplying the divisor by its inverse, converts the denominator to 1 in this mini multiplication problem. So in this mini multiplication problem, in the numerator, we have to do the same thing by the rules for multiplying top and bottom of fractions, even though they're complex. And canceling out in this multiplication problem, a number times its inverse is going to give us 1. So we've converted division by a number into multiplication by its inverse. But remember, you have to make everything an improper fraction before doing that. And here we can simplify this multiplication problem by canceling out the 2's, dividing top and bottom by 2. And the answer is 15. So if you're sharing 7.5 pounds total, and each person gets a half a pound here, half a pound there, and so on, you could feed 15 people. And to check a division problem, you could use the reverse problem to check it, the multiplication problem. Half a pound per person times 15 people gives you 7.5 pounds total. So it checks out. Let's try another example. So here, first we've made the fractions improper. And then we invert the divisor and multiply. So again, that makes the denominator 1, and we have a multiplication problem. So the process is make the fractions improper. 7½ becomes 15/2. Divisor 2 times 2 is 4. 1 is 5/2. When we invert it, it becomes 2/5. So just like with dividing simple fractions, you invert the divisor and multiply, but first you have to make the numbers improper before inverting. Okay? And now we have a multiplication problem. We could cancel out the 2's and with 5 with the 15, but let's just multiply across. So the denominator gives us 10, the numerator gives us 30, and the answer is 3. So here, if you have a total of 7½ square yards of cloth, and if it takes 2½ per shirt, that will give you 3 shirts. 2½, 2½, 2½. If you want more practice, you can go to mathgalaxy.com. The program has 2 modes. One talks you through the problem step by step. The other mode only asks for the final answer. And when you exit the final answer mode, it gives you a score which you can also print. And in doing problems, you also earn robots, which you can use in a maze game called The Labyrinth. There's also a riddles game that's like Wheel of Fortune, where the answers to problems are clues to a riddle. And Word Jumbles is like the riddles game, except they're clues to word jumbles. And another game is called Bridge the Swamp. This has been a review of dividing mixed numbers. If you want more practice or review, you can go to mathgalaxy.com. Thank you for listening.